When Jay announced the retirement, I literally went to Nam like, man, this isn't fair.
We actually don't have any details of what this fight entails. Could you maybe give us that information?
If it is a close fight and it goes my way, the trilogy would be epic. So I know how to fight. I can stand the ring, I can bang. I hope he's not overlooking me. I don't want any excuses. Gib and Slim, ooh, there's tension.
Is there any bad blood between you guys?
Dude, honestly, I don't, like, he's so weird. I just know that if we go in the ring, I will smoke him. Jay, don't underestimate me, dude. I'm coming for you.
Hello and welcome back to Misfits News, now live on both the Misfits YouTube and DAZN. I'm your host, as always, Ben the Bane Davis, joined by my co-host, BL. We want to take a second and say thank you, gang. We've hit 1 million subscribers on the Misfits YouTube channel. Incredible milestone. And make sure you keep your eyes peeled because we've got a special video coming soon to celebrate that. But before we get into that and all of the contents of today's video, BL, how are you?
Ben, it's great to see you again. 1 million subscribers. What a number that is indeed. But first, let me get into today's topics. The main topic of the episode obviously being Deji's opponent and who it possibly could be. The surprise of the week, KSI goes back and forth with the Nissan Gib. Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Wayne Rooney are looking to make a move to Misfits Boxing, and we have NichLMAO joining us later this episode.
I love it. Can't wait to hear the latest and greatest from Nick ahead of the return, but everyone has been asking. The attention has been fixed on who Deji's opponent could possibly be. But before we get into speculation on who's stepping in, let's talk about who was stepping out, who withdrew from this fight, which was none other than social media superstar Joey Essex. BL, what a crazy thing that the reality TV guy was trying to potentially get into.
That's right, Ben. I heard from Mams Taylor on the Sun interview, actually, that Joey Essex was originally scheduled to be fighting Deji on the Misfits Qatar Supercard, but unfortunately, it got postponed. It didn't happen. And the reasons being is that Deji was too high a level. Well, if Joey Essex doesn't fight Deji, which is the case right now, there's some other big names. People want to see the rematch with Alex Wasabi. Deji called out Bryce Hall. Luis Pineda made quite a storm on Twitter, and Danny Aarons as well called out Deji. Now, out of those names there, Ben, which one would you pick out and book it for Deji's next fight?
Well, I will axe Danny immediately off the list because he spoke on his stream that he was going to go get knocked out by Deji, and if the price was right, he would have gone and done it.
I basically got offered to get knocked out by Deji. If I fought him, especially now, he would knock me out. So I said, yo, for the right price, I will get knocked out by him. But they didn't give me the money.
My guy, Danny Aarons, always transparent, always honest. I don't think they could give him that paycheck that he wanted to go get finished. But the other couple names, Alex Wasabi, come on, that's a rematch that many fans have wanted, but it would be very challenging, very difficult. Bryce Hall, right? Where has he been competitively in terms of boxing, combat sports? I heard something about BKFC in December for Bryce, but this seems like a natural opportunity for him to step in, save the day, and take a big opportunity. Luis Pineda, I feel like he's earned a Deji, you know, but I understand that some fans might be tired of Luis Pineda fighting the Olatunjis, right? So it feels like there's asterisks with all of them. But the only issue with Alex Wasabi is that Deji doesn't want a hard opponent on his comeback. So,
and it also would be a rushed build-up, I would argue as well. That's a fight that I want as a main event. That's where we have a proper build-up for that fight because it's possibly the most anticipated rematch in crossover boxing. So a fight that possibly could add to that storyline is iDubbbz. He fought Alex Wasabi. It was a relatively close fight, so that could make sense. Deji fighting iDubbbz in Qatar, I wouldn't hate that.
I do think another name that we've spoken about before that actually chatted with Deji is Joe Weller, who confronted him on the Waffling podcast, but it doesn't seem like him and Weller are going to be fighting anytime soon.
If you were fighting me,
if I was fighting you, it would be a contest. I'm not going in there to hurt you. You know what I mean? No, because
all this time,
do you know what it?
All this time, brother, you've been saying I want to knock Joe Weller out so bad.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about that.
sunshine.
No, I'm gonna.
Now's your chance.
No. So do you know when we did the hide and seek? I was saying that, oh, Joe's there. Oh, I'm gonna stick it on him. But the minute I saw you, I was just like, he's a nice guy. Why am I being a dickhead?
No, they've ended up being friends because Deji and Joe Weller, they had a lot of back and forth. But once Deji went on the podcast and they spoke about the bubblies and they had some fun there, it seems that they just get along. If they were to fight, it would just purely be a thing for skill. But you mentioned the name Joe Weller there, and I want to move on slightly. I would love to see Joe Weller make a return to Misfits and crossover boxing. He is such a personality, and he brings so much to the scene. I think it would be a shame for him to have retired after that first KSI fight.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I've been deeply impressed with his promotion, right? Like you say, personality. He has charisma. He has some showmanship. And I think that's one of the big things that's missing from a lot of these Misfits fighters these days is the, the aura that Joe Weller just inherently has. So I don't know what's preventing it. I don't know if it's money. I don't know if it's Joe not training, but either way, maybe Joe Weller can get back in 2025.
Well, Joe Weller might not be joining us, but NichLMAO is. It seems to be.
Oh, hello.
How you doing?
I love it. Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm good,
brother,
thank you.
good.
I'm good. I just know what the comments are going to be in this video, my friend. They're going to just be like, which presenters which? Fuck off.
Yeah.
Do you want to know something? Do you want to know something so funny?
What's that?
There's this app where they upload all our photos, and it's like photos that the AI detects our faces. And I kid you not, on my story,
No way.
dude, on my
Fuck
story,
off.
Wait, let me find the photo, bro.
It's bringing up BL.
It's literally, I'm like,
That's
hey.
bullshit, man.
You're like, damn.
That's some bullshit. I cut my hair specifically like this so we would look more different as well. Because when we both had the same hair, it was a little bit uncanny at times.
I'm gonna cut my hair to look more like you now.
Oh, wow.
Always chasing the similarity. I like it. This fight's been announced. The rematch that everybody has wanted since X Series 5. You're facing Jay Swingler again. How did this come together? Talk to me about when this was first presented to you as a possibility.
So it's funny because when Jay announced the retirement, I literally went to Mam's like, man, this isn't fair. And Mam said, I was like, I don't know what I want to do now. I was set on the rematch right off the bat. And Mam said, listen, Nick, he'll be back. I was like, you sure? And I was like, he'll be back. So I kept training. I always had it in my mind that the rematch was going to happen. Then Mams was like, come out to Dublin. I was like, okay. And then lo and behold, Jay Swingler was there. Once I saw him, I knew what was up. You know, he doesn't show his face at those events for nothing. And he called me out and I was ready. I knew right then and there rematch was happening, and I'm very, very happy it is.
Were there any opponents that you had thought of for a singles match in the meantime that maybe, or possibilities that had come across your desk? Because I know obviously the tag team and the Survivor match had occurred, but was there ever a possibility of you versus someone else?
A lot of fights got offered my way, but they were just out of my weight class. Like, honestly, I want to fight at 155. All my fights have been at 165 just because, I don't know. I've always had to go up in weight. This is the first time I'm actually cutting weight ever, which is fun. I've put on a lot of muscle. I've been eating my protein. The only singles match that I would be interested in was B-Dave, but then honestly, the ship kind of sailed with that one. And then Jarvis for the belt. Those are my two interests.
Hey, and maybe that could be next, right? Depending on how it goes with Ben Williams. But I want to keep it on Jay for just a bit longer. That X Series 5 matchup, what an amazing fight it was. How do you reflect on that, right? With so much time removed now from that night.
Obviously, when it first happened, I was just so happy and excited to have experienced the greatest night of my life. Like, by far, having my friends and family there. But honestly, as time went on, I don't think Jay got the win. I think I could have just done that a little bit more. And I don't beat myself up over it because honestly, I'm very proud of my performance there. I had a great night. I really liked the boxing. But yeah, I think kind of like now, because of that, it's allowed me to kind of go in with the mentality of there won't be that little bit of a difference. Like, I'm training, like right now, I'm in a cabin in Sweden, training 3 times a day, swimming in ice cold lakes. Like, I'm on some Rocky 4 shit, you know?
You mentioned earlier about the weight, and that interested me. We actually don't have any details of what this fight entails, how many rounds, what the weight class will be. Could you maybe give us that information?
Am I allowed to?
Go for it. It's Misfits news. It's Misfits news. Break it.
I wanted to fight at 160. Jay wanted to fight at 165. We're fighting at 163. This will most likely, unless I don't know, a trilogy occurs or whatever, this will be my last fight at this kind of weight class. After that, it's 155. And it's going to be a 5-rounder, no draws. I mean, there could be, but it's very unlikely there will be a draw. So someone will win. And I'm hoping that either I dominate him and we put that story to rest. But if it is a close fight and it goes my way, the trilogy would be
Has to
epic.
happen.
So yeah, so I think there's so many good outcomes from this fight that I'm really looking forward to.
I love it. And hey, maybe we'll get that next installment. But there was something that you spoke about, and many people felt that Jay underestimated you, that he was overlooking you maybe at X Series 5. Why do you think that is? What do you think prompted that mentality from him? And do you think that maybe he's overlooking you again?
Dude, look at me. Of course he overlooked me. I look like the kid you'd bully in school, but
Hey, what are you talking about?
I think a lot of that has to do with my content. Obviously, I do content for, younger kids, and it's a little bit on like what most would consider the cringier side. So most people look at me and they almost want me to just be someone that could get beat up. But
Yeah.
I know how to fight. I can stand the ring, I can bang. I think that was a large part of it. Also, Jay hasn't challenged himself. My first fight, I put myself in the deep water and I overcame it. By his third fight, he was fighting a kid with 3 months of experience. By my third fight, I was fighting Luis Pineda, who has 17 fights, and B-Dave, who has like 7 fights on my third fight. It's just different levels. I like to throw myself in the deep end. My coach, Adan, he has that same mentality. Just go for it, And we have that mentality with training. Right when we started, we went to the gyms. We called out not called them out because they would have beat my ass, but we're like, let's work with the pros. We weren't scared. So it's just my mentality, and I think that's what he overlooked, thinking that like maybe I'd be scared, but I was ready. And I do hope, like, he's kind of contradictory because he was like saying like, I'm not underestimating you this time, but he's like, I don't need to watch your footage, So I don't know where he's at. I hope he's not overlooking me. I don't want any excuses. I want it to be like this fight. I want best Nick, best Jay.
I like it. He said that you hit like a Scotch egg, or as hard as a Scotch egg. Did we ever figure out what that is?
Do you guys not know what a Scotch egg is? Let me break this down. Have you
No.
never eaten a Scotch egg, either of you?
No.
I've not.
It's so let me explain. It's like a pork meat on the outside with some like batter, and then in the inside there's like a hard-boiled egg. It's actually quite delicious, I must say. If you ever get round to having a Scotch egg, let me know your reviews.
As far
Such
as
a British-
eggs go, I feel like there's a pretty good egg to punch like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
no,
kind of
I'll
like
give
a
you some
layered
extent.
egg. That's
what I'm saying.
loaded
Like,
baked
a little
potato. And lastly, on Jay, do you think this inactivity from him is going to be a detrimental effect? Because he hasn't competed. Maybe he hasn't been training, right? There are kind of a lot of questions about what Jay Swingler's been up to.
Yes, actually, I do have an interesting perspective on this. I do think that I'm a big believer that you can do all this training, whatever. This is what wins the fights. And I do think that just based off his videos right after the fight, like solo traveling Europe, I think he went to the Amazon and stuff. I think he got put in that place, that dark place where you kind of had to be by yourself. I know what that's like, and pushing through that, getting through that really changes you and develops you into, I guess, the next level of who you're meant to be. So I do think that even though he's been inactive physically, I think mentally he's been preparing, because I think he knew, like deep down he knew. And there is a certain element, you'll know this, Ben, when you have a fight coming up, that unrest, every move matters. You sleep different, you train different, you eat different. It's a mental game, and that fortitude is tested. And I do believe that he has improved on that at the very least. The only difference is mentally, I have been challenging myself too. And I think I am in a different headspace. I mean, I can do ice plunges for up to like 25 minutes and I go out because I don't want to get hypothermia. Like, I'm in places that I just like 6 months ago, I couldn't imagine being where I'm at.
I definitely think I'm in the more mentally challenged bracket, to be honest with you. But let's talk about that that main event, Gib versus Slim. On Qatar, you're on the undercard. Talk to me what you make of this fight at an overall.
I'm so grateful that I get to fight, and then I get to sit down and watch Salt Toffee versus King Kenny, Deji versus whoever, Gib versus Slim. It's how I felt about the Prime card. I'm a fan first. I'm so grateful to be here, but I'm a fan first. Being able to compete and then watch the events, that is a blessing.
And what do you make of that Gib versus Slim fight? Who do you think's going to win that one?
Because I'm a fan of UK YouTube, I do want, I'm a fan of Gib. I just am. I have counted Slim out for pretty much every fight. So just logically, I'm like, you know what? Slim, he's just got that sauce. Gib, I don't want to pick anyone. It's just I just have to pick someone. So I pick Slim, but I don't know. I don't know. I know it's good. I just hope for a great fight, and it's real. Like a lot of these like fights, sometimes like there's more tension on camera. Gib and Slim, ooh, there's tension. Like just standing around them, like ooh, there's tension. Like even if they're on other sides of the hotel, you just feel the energy. It's like it is a grudge match, which is really exciting.
It's such a 50-50 fight, and I can't wait to see how it pans out. But I tell you something, your opponent Jay actually fought Gib way back when in KSI Logan Paul 2, I believe. Have you had a chance to see that fight? And Jay actually wants that fight down the line. He said and made it very obvious he wants Anisan Gib back.
Jay would get smoked, dude. Yeah, no, I watched that fight. I was a fan. I'm like I said, I've been following this since before the beginning. So yeah, I said that I watched that fight. I remember like it was a fun fight to watch when I knew nothing about boxing. I was like, wow, they're just swinging for the fences. But no, Jay's not there yet. Gib would smoke him. Ironically, when they did the TikTokers versus YouTuber card, I called out Gib because I knew nothing about boxing. So I was like, yeah, I can beat Gib. I'm very, very happy. I did not do that. I would have got my ass beat. So yeah, Jay would get smoked.
Let's turn the gears back a little bit. Last time we saw you was that prime card, the tag team matchup. Talking about what you made of that fight and kind of how the tag team aspect of Misfits hasn't been around in a while.
That fight, I hate that fight.
Really?
I got injured 3 weeks before the fight, bad, so I couldn't train at all. My coach was actually in Logan's camp, so I was with a different training group, which I love them. They were Alex's team. But it was a rough camp. I got injured 3 weeks before. So imagine not training. Like I couldn't do cardio 3 weeks before my fight. Like I was like, what the hell?
Wow.
And I just wanted to make sure I have a good back and just go in there and rely on my skill. And I kid you not, on Thursday we were doing press on the bus, and the driver slammed the brakes, and my back and literally could not walk. 2 days before the fight, I literally called Mams. I'm like, dude, I will do everything in my power to be in that ring. I went to the chiro like 3 times a day. Like he did everything. He had me on like massage. Like, bro, he was doing everything. It was like voodoo. So I like no one goes into a fight at 100%, but that really bugged me because I felt like we got a draw and I was at my lowest that I could basically be while still going into the ring. So just knowing that if I didn't get injured 3 weeks before my fight, like I just would have been fine and we would have banged him. So yeah, that sucked. But still never tagged out against B-Dave, so he's still my son. But yeah.
What is, if you don't mind me asking, the injury, what happened? Was it in training? Was it something maybe during strength and conditioning that went wrong, or?
Yeah, I was just training too hard, dude. I was like training like 2-3 times a day, and I was like, I don't need rest days. And that lasted for like 3 weeks. And it was like days when I had rest day, I just had energy. And then it got to that point. I remember the specific, I was doing lateral movements and I just went like that, and it was just over.
Yeah. How are you feeling now ahead of the Jay rematch?
Oh, I had to really work on it. I took on a lot of sports that were very therapeutic for my back, and I discovered some recovery methods that have been working. That's why I've been going so hard on ice tubs and just everything. So it's been good, thankfully. But it is still something that like I have to be conscious about. But luckily, I feel like we've moved past it in training. Like now, it's no longer what it used to be.
And you mentioned it, and you're correct. Never tagged out against him. Is this beef with B-Dave real? Right? Is there any bad blood between you guys?
Dude, honestly, I don't like. He's so weird. I don't know. I don't know if we have beef. Like, I just know that if we go in the ring, I will smoke him. And there's like, I don't understand. Like, I understand with Jay, like people are like 50-50, 50-50. I don't understand where this storyline of where B-Dave's gonna beat me comes from. I would smoke him so hard. But if that fight ever does come up, it just has to make sense for me. Maybe I'll do 2 fights in one night or something. I don't know.
Yeah, get him out of the way easy and then cruise on to a harder challenge. You brought it up and mentioned that your coach was in his camp. But with Logan Paul, what's the connection there? Did you guys spar? Have you trained with him? What have you learned from Logan?
I trained with Logan one time. My coach, Adan Castillo, he was the first guy that ever trained Jake and Logan. He was also fighting on the prime card, so he brought me in on a training sesh in Manchester. And dude, Logan's a beast, bro. He's a beast. I don't want to say too much because obviously it was in private, but like, yeah, nice guy, very polite, very down to earth. Introduced himself to everyone, just good guy, good vibes. But yeah, he definitely had that dog in him. I sparred with some of his sparring guys, and I was like, oh shit.
Like, oh damn, the level.
Yeah.
I know you can't say too much about it, but did you actually get a chance to step in the ring with Logan Paul? Did you guys actually spar in the end?
I was injured, dude. I couldn't.
Oh yeah, of course. So it was
Yeah.
just purely that makes sense. That makes
Like
sense.
I moved around with his sparring guys, but he had a fight coming up in 2 days, and it was serious with Dylan. I don't think he wanted to.
He was not.
He was not there
messing
to
about
do that. Yeah.
I want to switch things back to your fight with Jay Swingler. He has had a lot to say. You guys have been going back and forth on Twitter, so I want to give you a moment and give you a moment to look at camera, speak to him. What's your message to Jay Swingler?
Jay, don't underestimate me, dude. I'm coming for you.
I love it.
Honestly, I'm just here to have fun, and I think that carries in the ring. My presence, my energy. I'm relaxed. Jay's there, freaking shaking. Like I'm gonna dance around this boy. But I think it's gonna be. I'm betting that me and Jay actually. Nah, actually, I can't say that. They're all gonna.
Nah,
be great.
say it.
I was gonna
Say
say
it.
I think me and Jay might be fight of the night, but all of the fights are gonna be fight of the night. Honestly, these are great matchups, but me and Jay, like stylistically, we got the brawler versus the defense. Like it's just a beautiful thing to watch. Like if you enjoy boxing, I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Stylistically, it'll be fireworks and fun will definitely be had. NichLMAO, thank you so much for the time, sir. We cannot wait for fight week, and Qatar is coming up soon.
All right, peace.
On the topic of volatility, so we've spoken about Deji. Now it's time we turn to KSI. We speak about the beef he's had with Gib. Now, they used to be good friends, but after Gib posted a promotional video for his fight with Slim, KSI actually responded with, Slim, you have got this, which Gib responded with, backing a guy who's pinned a tweet with him knocking you out. Ben, what do you make of this? From friends to foe, it's a bit of a weird one.
I think it's all in good fun. I don't think anyone's taking it too seriously, but Gib rightfully points out that it is interesting for KSI to be backing a guy who has, I think I've seen that photo of Slim knocking out KSI many times. So it is interesting. But what did Gib expect, right? KSI has to maybe side with the Misfits champion, the undefeated, reigning kingpin of that division. So it's natural that the promoter would want his champ to win, but Gib has a big opportunity because if he beats Slim in impressive fashion, BL, what could potentially be next for Gib?
I love the storyline. If they were to fight Gib and KSI, I think the internet would absolutely love it. They've had a friendship. They trained together. They started this thing together. They actually fought on the KSI versus Joe Weller card. It would really be taking things from the first day till now. And I know a lot of people wouldn't like that because they wouldn't want to see two friends go against each other. But it's almost that Rocky versus Creed storyline where they are friends, but they want to see who's the better fighter. And secretly, they know because they've had so many spars.
And I think that one of KSI's issues with some of his recent opponents have been the lack of interest, right? That Gib has been pointing out. I think Gib versus KSI could be box office. I mean, who wouldn't sign up for that, right? So I think there's a lot of ways that could be justified. But again, if they do feel like the friendship is too important or their dynamic, their bond is too important and they don't want to mess that up by fighting, I would get that. I would understand that and I wouldn't have an issue with it. But let's say Gib walks through Slim. To me, one of the only things that would be next for him is KSI.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, switching gears, Mams Taylor has revealed talks with footballers Zlatan and Wayne Rooney, revealing it's only a matter of time before they box. So outside of Danny Simpson, we're getting some more football stars, BL, into the squared circle.
I love it. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he was rumored to be fighting on Misfits a long way back. I don't know if you guys remember, but Zlatan was rumored to actually fight KSI, but it never came into fruition. So the fact the conversation is still happening seems to be that we may see a new market come into it. We may see these footballers start to cross over into Misfits, and I'd love it. But I just don't know who I'd match him up against. Would you want to see footballer versus footballer? Would you want to see Zlatan versus another powerhouse in themselves?
I think I would be more interested in the footballer versus content creator type dynamic. You know, what we had with Danny Aarons and Danny Simpson, I thought was super fantastic because it was two guys from the most diverse backgrounds you could possibly imagine. I mean, quite literally opposite ends of a spectrum. You've got a Premier League winner and a guy who opens FIFA packs, right? Like it is the opposite end of the spectrum coming together and competing. So for me, I'd be interested in that more so than footballer versus footballer. But at the same time, as I've stated, I don't really have much awareness on football stars. or who would make sense for who. So I'll stay out of that conversation.
Well, I'll tell you something. As I iterated earlier, it opens a new market. It'd be great to see it. As we saw, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank faced off and Neymar was in the middle. I love to see the footballers get involved. We see Cristiano Ronaldo sometimes ringside as well. Maybe we'd see Lionel Messi there with his Mass Plus drink next to the Prime. That could be a really fun crossover as well.
What an episode of Misfits News, now on YouTube and DAZN. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, always bringing you the latest updates we have. I've been your host, Ben the Bane Davis, joined by my co-host, BL, and we will see you guys next episode.